In this video, I'm gonna share with you 15 tips and tricks that will help you to improve your gameplay and become a pro player in Free Fire. Now, a lot of these tips and tricks in this video are gonna be for beginners, but if you're not a beginner, there could be some tips and tricks in this video that could help you to improve your gameplay. So if you guys want, you can stick around until the end of this video. Now, after this video, I'll be uploading another video on more advanced level tips and tricks. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now. So without wasting any more time, first let's start with tip number 1. Now, a very big mistake that I see a lot of players do is that they stay in the same place after firing. When you fire, your position will be revealed in the enemy's minimap. So if your enemy knows your location, it will be easy for him to plan a strategy on how to attack you. So instead of staying in the same place after firing, try to change your location several times. Now when you do this, it will confuse your enemy, and when your enemy gets confused, it will be hard for him to plan a strategy on how to attack you. So guys, now let's move on to tip number 2. So now the second tip that I'm gonna tell you guys is also another very big mistake that I see a lot of beginners do. So now the mistake that these players do is that they camp in houses in every game and stay for their enemies to come near them. So guys, now here's the thing. If you keep camping in houses in every game, you won't learn how to handle and attack an enemy. So instead of staying in houses, go and rush your enemy. And now with time and experience, you'll learn how to handle and defeat an enemy. As a famous YouTuber named Vincent once said, people should learn how to play. You don't get to play good if you stay in house. Go play rush, kill or die. So now that was tip number 2. Now let's move on to tip number 3. When you continuously fire like this, your crosshair will get larger. Now when your crosshair gets larger, the bullets will spread all across the enemy. Now this is what is called as recoil in Free Fire. Now if you guys wanna get headshots, you'll have to learn how to control the recoil. One easy trick that the pro players use to control the recoil is called the split fire technique. So instead of continuously firing like this, you can fire in splits. First fire, then stop. Then again fire, then again stop. Now you can do this as much as you want. Now, there's one big problem if you do this trick in this way. If you stay in a still position for very long, you will be an easy target for an enemy. So instead of staying in a still position when doing this trick, try to use the peek and fire technique. Now, a big mistake that a lot of players do when doing the peek and fire technique is that they fire from the left side. Now in Free Fire, the crosshair is placed more towards the right side. Now if you peek and fire from the left side, you will be more exposed to your enemy. But if you peek and fire from the right side, you will be less exposed to your enemy. So guys, now let's get on to tip number 4. The fourth tip that I want to tell you guys is to reload before engaging in a fight. If you don't reload before engaging in a fight, you will have to reload in front of your enemy. If by any chance you have to reload your gun in front of your enemy, don't wait for your gun to reload. Switch to the other gun and attack your enemy. Now the fifth tip that I want to give you guys is a tip that you can use when you're landing. When landing, try to land before your enemy. If your enemy lands before you, there's a higher chance that the enemy could take a gun before you. If you guys want to land faster, you guys can use the Falco Pet's ability to increase the gliding and diving speed. Another tip that I want to give you guys when landing is to try to land on a gun. The person who lands on a gun will be able to attack the other enemies who are searching for guns. So guys, now let's get on to tip number 6. Tip number 6 is to set traps in an unpredictable way. Nowadays, everyone knows how to break landmines. If you don't, here's how to do it. Most of the time, players will place landmines on entrances like this. Now you can go to the first floor and jump upwards like this to break the landmine. Since a lot of players know this trick, you'll have to place landmines in unpredictable places. In this video, I'll give you guys 4 examples on how to do that. The first way is to place the landmine and cover it with a glue wall. If an enemy comes near the glue wall, the landmine will automatically blast like this. If you place the landmine after putting the glue wall, most of the time it won't affect the enemy. The second way to place landmines is to place them on FF coins like this. The third way to place landmines is to place them on loot boxes. And now the fourth way to place landmines is to place them on top of entrances like this. When you place them on top of entrances like this, most of the time the enemy won't be able to break them. So now when they come through the staircase, the landmine will automatically blast. The 7th tip that I'm going to give you guys is on the aim precision settings. So let me explain what all these 3 settings are. When you select the default setting, you will be able to do drag headshots both normally and with the scope. But when you turn on the precision scope setting, you will be able to do normal drag headshots, but you won't be able to do drag headshots when you scope in. What I mean is, you will have to manually bring the scope onto the enemy's head if you want to do headshots. Now when you turn on the full control setting, you won't be able to do both normal drag headshots and in-scope drag headshots. Now the 8th tip that I want to give you guys is to not run with your gun. If you run with your gun, it will decrease your movement speed. As you guys know, movement speed is very important in a match. So when running, switch to the fist or melee weapon like this. When talking about the melee weapons, the 9th tip that I wanna give you guys is to use the pan. Melee weapons such as the pan have the ability to deflect bullets that are coming from the back. If you use melee weapons such as the bat, they won't help you to deflect bullets. The parang also has the ability to deflect bullets, but the pan is better at doing it than the parang. So guys, now let's move on to tip number 10. For example, let's say your health is very low, but your friend just got knocked down. Most beginners will heal themselves first and next heal their friend. But in Free Fire, you can revive your teammate while using medkits like this. So now let's get on to tip number 11. One of the biggest reasons that a lot of beginners die early in matches is because they do not loot important items before engaging in a fight. Before engaging in a fight, it's very important to loot things such as vests, medkits, helmets and guns. Another big mistake that I see a lot of players do is that they loot in a still or crouched position. If you stay like this, it will be easy for an enemy to scope in and headshot you. So instead of staying like this, rotate your joystick while looting. So guys, now let's move on to tip number 12. Tip number 12 is very similar to tip number 11. Most beginners will just stand straight like this when they are doing things such as eating mushrooms, putting medkits, using repair kits and etc. As I said earlier, when you stay in a still position, it's very easy to headshot you. So instead of doing that, you can use the up-down movement trick like this. When you do this, it will be hard to aim and headshot you. So guys, now let's move on to tip number 13. One big mistake that I see a lot of players do is that they rush straight into the enemy. When you rush straight into the enemy like this, it will be very easy to do a drag headshot on you. So instead of rushing straight into the enemy, use the zigzag movement like this. So guys, now let's move on to tip number 14. When you're selecting your guns, first get a short range gun and a long range gun. For example, if you take two shotguns, you won't be able to attack enemies from long range. Now let's say you took two long range guns such as two M60s into a short range fight. If your enemy uses a short range gun, most of the time the enemy will have a higher chance of winning the fight. That's because most short range guns have a higher rate of fire than most long range guns. So guys, now let's get on to the last tip of this video. Most players when they start will get used to switching their guns with the normal gun switch option. Now if the gun switch option is on the right side, you'll have to drag the fire button and press the gun switch option with the same thumb finger. Now when you do this, your switching speed will get slower. So to increase the switching speed, the pro players use the quick weapon switch button. If you don't know how to use the quick weapon switch button, you can click on this video to learn it. In here, I'll teach you guys how to use it step by step. I will also teach you guys a secret trick that the pro players use.